We recently made a video talking about the top 5 teams who have made the best moves this offseason in MLS. But today we're going to talk about the teams who have made the worst moves or least improved this MLS offseason. But before we get into that, make sure you like this video down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Guys, we are 230 subscribers away from 6,000, and our goal is to hit 6K by MLS opening day, which is a little over a week from now. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and hit the little bell notification so you never miss any of my videos or live streams. Now, on to our 5 teams who have had a bad offseason in Major League Soccer. Starting at number 5, we have the Houston Dynamo. Now, the Houston Dynamo had been revitalized in 2023, and they made the playoffs in 2024 as well under the leadership of Ben Olsen. But the problem is they lost Hector Herrera, who was their big signing in 2023, had a great season in 2023, and they didn't replace him with someone who can carry the mantle as a star of the team or a big name in the market. Now, they did trade for Jack McGlynn from the Philadelphia Union, but this isn't really satisfying enough for the fan base or for the market. And even though Jack McGlynn's good, most people aren't probably going to know who he is in that market. And they need a big name. They need someone who can help sell tickets and contribute on the pitch. So that is a little underwhelming. And Ezekiel Ponce is going to have an incredible season in 2025. They spent $10 million on him or $9 million on him. They're going to need him to step it up, even though he showed some, impressive spells in 2024. They're going to need him to really come through for this team if they want to make the playoffs for a third straight year. And there's just a lot riding on this. I just don't understand how a team like this, who was 5th in the Western Conference in 2024, who failed to score a goal in the playoffs, they're not doing more to really improve the roster and try to make a serious run at this. This is a sport, especially a league, in which you have to improve year to year. You have to make signings or you will get left behind, especially if you didn't win MLS Cup. Even teams who are winning MLS Cup are spending money, like the LA Galaxy. They needed to make more moves than what they did. I'm disappointed that they didn't, but maybe they'll do something in the summertime. At number 4, we have Toronto FC. Now, it's almost become exhausting of how bad Toronto FC has been the last several years. They haven't made the playoffs since 2020. Greg Vanney is the one and only manager to take this team to the MLS Cup playoffs. And also, he won their first MLS Cup for them in 2017. But it's like the team has been cursed ever since he has left. This is their third manager that they've had. They had Chris Armas. They had Bob Bradley. Now they have Robin Fraser. Actually, this is their 4th manager. They had John Herdman before Robin Fraser. This is their 4th manager since Greg Vanney has left, and they can't figure it out. Lorenzo Insigne is a plague on this team. He is making $15 million a year. They can't get rid of him. There was rumors that they were going to buy him out. They had 3 clubs in Europe who wanted him, and they were going to give him a package to get him out, and he turned it down. He is not leaving, and I don't think his deal runs out until the end of the 2026 season, so they are stuck with Lorenzo Insigne, the worst and biggest bust in MLS history, and they haven't made any significant moves in which you need to make. This team has not made the playoffs, like I said, since 2020, and the team is not going to magically get better. So if you're not adding players that make your team better, you're not going to improve. You're not going to make the playoffs. It's really sad because Toronto FC had become a staple in Major League Soccer for their successes in the mid 2010s, the teens, and especially making 3 MLS Cup finals. It's really sad to see how far they've fallen. They are back to the way they were before the Greg Vanney era, where they had never made the playoffs. And maybe they'll be able to do something this summer. Maybe offload him. Bernadeschi's been pretty good, but he's not going to be able to do it by himself. They need to get a striker, and Jonathan Osorio being a DP is detrimental to the team as well. Just very, very poor management. Toronto FC has so much potential. Hopefully they can get it together because the league is better when Toronto FC is better. I feel for the fans of Toronto. Hopefully they can get this thing figured out. And hopefully Robin Fraser is a good manager. We will see what happens with them. At number 3, we have New York City FC. Now, New York City FC lost James Sands to, they loaned him out. Again, this is the second stint. They loaned him out to Rangers back a couple years ago. That didn't really pan out. And now that he's being loaned into the Bundesliga, they loaned out Mihajlovic, which he never really lived up to his price tag as a striker. He's only 18 years old. That seems like it was a flop. And there's rumors that Santiago Rodriguez is going to be sold to Botafogo, which would be a huge loss because he's their best player. It's just kind of puzzling that they hired Pascal Janssen a couple months ago. They haven't made a single move that I know of. And this is a team that, like I said earlier, you have to be proactive in Major League Soccer. You have to make moves on a year-to-year basis. You can't stand put or you will get left behind. And the fact is they have not made any moves. Maybe they're waiting till the summer, but that's going to hurt them early in the season. And also, too, maybe their mindset, CFG, is that Nick Cushing, they had the talent to win, but Nick Cushing just wasn't the right guy to get the most out of it, which I completely agree with. I think Nick Cushing was terrible. But, I mean, they have to sign something. There's no way that there's no deficiencies in their roster at all. We will see what happens with them, but if Santiago Rodriguez is sold, they need to replace him immediately. Don't wait until the summer to sign a replacement for him. Now, I did think that before the Evander to Cincinnati deal finally materialized, I did think that New York City FC could be a team that could have gotten to that race, but that's obviously not going to happen now. They have to have something lined up. They have to be ready to go if they want to compete. Now, this is a team that won the MLS Cup in 2021. This is a team that is owned by City Football Group, ladies and gentlemen. City Football Group. Think about this. Would Manchester City go an entire offseason without making a single move? Man City struggled, and they were struggling so bad in the Premier League that they had, look at all the moves that they made this winter so that way they could try to get back in the Premier League race. But New York City FC are not signing anybody after unloading people. They have a U22 spot open now that Mihajlovic is on loan. I want to see more from this team. I have big expectations. We need our big market team like New York City, especially owned by City Football Group, to really step it up, maximize their potential, do what the other big clubs are doing, and not just standing pat and saying everything is good. We'll see what happens later and kicking the can down the road. Very disappointed in New York City FC. I have them at number 3. It is the biggest disappointment this offseason. Love to know what you guys think, if you agree with that ranking or not. At number 2, we have LAFC. Now, LAFC has been doing very well in MLS since their entrance into the league, right? Very competitive, only missed the playoffs once, which was in 2021. And their roster just seems so depleted. It feels like they're churning out the roster every single cycle, every single year, and they don't ever fill up that third DP spot. This will be like the third year in a row that they don't have that DP spot filled. They lost Ilie Sanchez. They're selling Kike Oliveira. They're selling Matty. They already sold Matty Bogusz, and Matty Bogusz was probably their best player last year. He was an absolute baller. They sold Omar Campos after 1 year, and they lost Murillo. This team has lost so many players, and it just feels like they don't have the pieces to get their current players in the best possible position to succeed. Olivier Giroud is 38 years old. He will be 39 this year. He did not fit in the system last year, but they're not making any signings to try to help him out, to get him to be more productive, which is going to be detrimental to this team's success. This season and LAFC success hinges on Olivier Giroud. Now, LAFC could be waiting to sign Griezmann, which we've seen the reports. I've reported. Many people have said that is a matter of when, not if. He will be an LAFC player. But are you really wanting to put all your eggs in that basket? And what if he doesn't come to LAFC? Then what do you do? It's just kind of sad to see a big club like LAFC, who just won the MLS Cup in 2022, who lost the CONCACAF Champions Cup in 2023. They've been competing in several big matches. It just feels like they've lost their way. They've lost their mojo. And the LA Galaxy are back. The LA Galaxy are competitive again. So this isn't really the time to stand pat, lose your identity, especially also because San Diego FC is coming into the league and they are spending money and they really have it figured out as well. Like it looks like they have it figured out and they're going to be competitive from the jump. So now they did add Odin Holm and Igor Jesus, but it's just not enough. It's not enough. They need to add another center back. They need to add another winger. They need to add another. They need a playmaker. They need to change their formation. They need to have someone directly play underneath Olivier Giroud to set him up, kind of like what France did with Griezmann. Or they need to get someone in there who can actually get him some crosses to make him more of a threat in the aerial attack. So we will see what happens. I'm very disappointed with LAFC at this point because of the expectations I have for the club. You need your big clubs to spend big. You need your big clubs to try to go for it right out of the gate. They're not doing that. I have them at number 2. Would love to know what you guys think. We'll see if they have a busy summer, but they haven't had a busy winter. Okay, at number 1. Now, this one is crazy. I never thought I would say this in the beginning of the offseason because this has been a very dominant team the last couple years, especially since they acquired their manager, who is the best in MLS, the Columbus Crew. The Columbus Crew recently sold Cucho Hernandez to Real Betis of La Liga, and they didn't replace him. Now, Cucho Hernandez was a second place finisher in the MVP race in 2024. And when you have a player that is that special to your team, you have to have the replacement lined up before you sell them. You cannot just get rid of the player before you have the replacement when they're that important to your team. And then they only sold him for like 13 million euros, which is an absolute steal for Cucho Hernandez. I can't believe no other MLS team tried to get into that race and buy him with the new mechanism that's been introduced into MLS. Then you kind of think, okay, well, hey, they'll be fine. They've got a proven goal scorer in MLS in Christian Ramirez. He will replace him. Everything. Well, they just traded him to the LA Galaxy. So you sold your starter. You traded your backup, who also started next to Cucho in a couple games. So who is starting up top for the Columbus Crew? Who's starting up top? And then they got rid of Yeboah, which, that's not the craziest loss, but it's a depth piece, right? He started like 24 games. And then they never replaced Aiden Morris. Now, look, Wilfried Nancy is the best manager in MLS. I've said this. If you follow the channel, you know how I feel about Wilfried Nancy. He is a diamond in the rough. He is a gem. He is the best manager this league has probably ever produced. But even with that being said, there's only so much he can do. You have to have some talent. And not replacing your best player, trading your backup, getting rid of depth, losing Aiden Morris, who's been balling out in the championship, by the way, it's just not going to cut it. They have got to make some signings before the season starts, or this team could put themselves in a bad spot heading into the summer, which, a lot of MLS teams do wait to the summer to make any signings, which I don't agree with. I think you should hit the ground running in the offseason and be strong from the get-go. But some teams don't do that. Some teams wait until the summer to see what happens and check out the summer transfer window. But they've got to get things figured out. Now, they can do it in the summer, and we'll see what happens. But I'm very disappointed in their plan so far. The Columbus Crew won MLS Cup in 23, won Leagues Cup in 24, runner-up in CONCACAF Champions Cup in 2024. This was a heavy-hitting team that we need to be good. We don't need teams like that to be taking a step back. So I'm very disappointed in them so far. Want to know what you guys think about my list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What would be your top 5 most disappointing teams in the 2025 MLS offseason? Let me know down below in the comment section. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like I said, we're getting close to 6K subscribers. Also, hit the bell notification so you never miss a video. And until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.